Hey, Wood students, in this video, we're going to get you started with Inventor, learning the file types, and we will talk about the importance of knowing where you save material. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to click on the Inventor icon on your desktop. Now, I've been in Inventor. I've used it quite a bit, so mine's going to load a little different than yours might the first time. Once our computer gets it loaded, I can see this progress bar down here is slowly making its way across. Once yours gets loaded, it's going to say start learning or start working on the screen. Mine should, if it gets going here, default to the home page. Right? So when you first get in here and you see the message that says start working or start learning, you're going to click on start working and it'll bring you to a page that looks something like this one that's slowly loading here. You can see it's 7:30 in the morning. I guess my school laptop's feeling a little sluggish here today. There we go. We're slowly getting there. So when you click start working, it's going to bring you to a page that looks similar to this. The biggest difference is you're not going to have any recent documents down here in this area. This area is going to be blank for you. As you go through and you start creating assignments for this class, they'll end up down here in the recent document area. And then if you want to quickly open one up, you can just double click on one of these. Sometimes students will get documents down here in this recent area and they'll accidentally hit the unpin button or the pin button and it'll toggle in between this unpinned and this pinned area. And so it's not actually deleting it, it's just moving them back and forth. Right? Even if you hit the trash can here, it's just going to remove it from the list. So if you can't find stuff down here, it still probably exists somewhere on your computer. So yours is blank. Hopefully your computer is loaded by now. We're going to click on New Part. This is going to bring us into our modeling environment. And I'm going to have you start off real easy here today. We're just going to model up a couple basic shapes. Half of this video is going to be you waiting for my computer to load, it looks like. All right, so now mine's loaded. Just a few vocab terms I might use. This environment out here where my cursor is, we'll call this the modeling environment. Over here, I've got my view cube. Once I've got a model started, I can click on this view cube and I can rotate it around to see different views. This is my Nav Bar or navigation bar. I'll use some of these tools to, move my object around or move my camera view around. Up top, we've got tabs. And underneath the tab, I've got this ribbon section. That's where all my different tools are. And over here, this vertical toolbar is my model bar. So again, my view cube, my nav bar, my tabs, my ribbon, and all these tools are on my ribbon, and then my model bar. So start off creating a model. I'm going to come up on my ribbon and I'm just going to click on Start 3D Sketch. That's going to put these 3 planes on our screen. These are the origin planes. And anytime we create a sketch, we need a flat surface to sketch on. So I want you for this class to get in the habit of sketching on your XY plane. So when you come in here and you go to open stuff up, we want to sketch on our XY plane. And so I'm going to click on my XY plane, and then I'm in sketch mode. Now I can tell I'm in sketch mode because the green sketch tab is highlighted, and I can see my finished sketch check over here. So now we're going to start off real simple. We're just going to draw a rectangular shaped board in here. So I'm going to go to rectangle. And the other thing I want you to get in the habit of is not only do I want you to always sketch on the XY plane for our Woods class for your initial sketch, I also want you to start your initial sketch at the origin. That's this little yellow dot here. So that's where our X and Y axes cross each other. Right? So we're going to click there, and then we're always going to draw our object in this upper right-hand quadrant. And when we get to setting up the CNC router, you'll see why that's important, that we're always on the XY plane in the upper right-hand quadrant. Okay. Now, I clicked once to start this rectangle. I'm using my mouse, but if you're using your stylus, you do the same thing. We're going to click once, and then I can type some sizes in here. So I want to draw out a board that's 18 inches long, and then I'm going to click Tab, and I'll hit 6 in the other box. So that's going to make an 18 by 6-inch board. I can, again, use the Tab key to toggle between these two boxes. And when I've got the numbers entered I want, I'll click the Enter key. And now it doesn't look like a rectangle on my screen. I can just see the lower corner of this object right now. So I'm going to come to my Nav Bar, and I'll click the Zoom All button. Again, Zoom All is checked, so I'm just going to hit the paper with the magnifying glass, and it'll show me my entire rectangle here. And now, before I move on, I just want to confirm I've got 18 inches long here, 6 inches tall over here. If that wasn't the case, if these numbers aren't 18 by 16, I can just click on the number, double click rather, and I could take and edit whatever shows up in this dialog box. If you've got a green line, maybe you missed putting a dimension on it, you can grab this dimension tool, and you could click on the line that needs a dimension. Mine says the dimension already exists, but if there is no dimension there, it would let you add one to it. So we're going to go ahead and click Finish Sketch. Now it zooms back in, so I'm going to click that Zoom All button. So it zooms out. And now you'll notice I'm back on my 3D Model tab. I'm going to click the Extrude button from my ribbon, and I'm going to extrude this board to a distance of 0.75 inches. And then I'm going to click OK. And that'll drag that out. So what this kind of represents on our screen right now is a board that's 3/4 of an inch thick, 18 inches long, and 6 inches tall. So I'm going to have you do a second sketch on here now. We're going to go up to Start 2D Sketch. We'll click on the face of this object. I'm going to do my Zoom All button again. And this time we'll show you two things here. If I want to cut away sections of this board, maybe I want to make it look like a picture frame. I'm going to come in and draw a second rectangle. Now, this time I'm not going to enter in a size. I just want to show you and have you practice with a few things. So I'll click a second time to finish that rectangle. Then I'm going to say Finish Sketch. Now I'm going to go to the Extrude button. And you can see I can either pull this out to add more material here, or I can change the distance and I can go back and cut some material away. And so that would make this, again, kind of look like a frame. And maybe on my frame, I want to have an arch top. So I'm going to click on this face. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to click Start 2D Sketch and then click on this face again. And if I want to make an arch top, I'm going to come into Arc. Okay. I'll click the two ends of my rectangle. And then I'll just drag up this arc till I think it looks good. I click a third time. I need a closed profile to create an extrusion, so I'm going to come back to the end of this line segment. Come over, draw my second end of my line segment down here where that arch ends. Then I'll click Finish Sketch. I'll extrude it again, and again I'm going to change the distance and go back 3/4 of an inch. So now I've got an arc top on here. Yeah, we're going to do one more sketch here. So again, I'm going to right click on this face this time. I'll say Start a New Sketch. And we're going to pretend like we want to drill a couple of holes in here to mount this on the wall. So I'm going to go to my circle tool, and I'll just come up in here. Again, I'm just going to kind of eyeball this. I'll come to a spot, and I'm going to draw a 1/4 inch hole. So I click once to start my circle, type 0.25, and now I'm going to hit Enter. And then I'll come down here and I'm going to do the same thing. Now you can see that little dotted line shows up. That tells me the two center points are even. So why don't you practice that when you draw this circle? Okay, I'm going to click again to start my circle. I'll draw it out and go 0.25 and then hit Enter. Now I've got two circles on there, so I'm going to say Finish Sketch. I'm going to come to Extrude one more time. Now this time it doesn't give me any preview because I've got two profiles, so I need to click inside of each of these circles to get the extrusion to show up. And this time I'm going to, instead of telling it to go a set distance and using these two distance arrows to change the direction, I'm going to keep the arrow pointing forward. And I'm going to come up here and change my extent to all. And you'll notice all goes to cut. So it's going to cut away all the material behind that sketch that we made. So at this point, I'm going to click OK. And if I spin this around on my view cube, okay, you can see that hole goes all the way through this object. And now if you're wondering how is Mr. Coleman zooming in and out, I am using a mouse, not the stylus pad on my keyboard. So I've got an actual mouse and I'm using the roller ball in the middle, just kind of centering my cursor where I want to zoom, and it'll move in and out for me. Okay. So this is our first drawing here. I'm going to go in and save it now. And saving stuff is super important. A lot of times students will get in here and they'll just click save and have no idea where stuff is going. Right? So I want to make sure when I save this, I'm saving it to my Google file drive stream. So on this drop down here, I should see underneath OS disk, I should see Google file drive stream. And then I'm going to go into my drive. You can see I've got a lot of folders in here. I'd like you to create a folder by clicking on this button. Okay, and we're going to call this Woods 1. Now, I've probably already got a Woods 1 folder. We'll see what happens when I hit enter. Oh, I guess I didn't. All right. So then I'm going to double click on this Woods 1 folder. And now whatever I save, when I click the save button, is going to be saved in my Woods 1. But what I want you to get in the habit of doing is also giving your parts a name. Don't just number them. That's going to get confusing once you got more than 2 or 3 parts to keep track of what was part 1, what was part 2. So let's call this our practice shape. And we'll know this is our first practice shape. So let's go ahead and click save. All right. And now I've established a file path. So every time I click save on here, this is going to save it to that Google file drive stream for me. And now I can just come up here and I can click this disk if I want to save it, or I can do Control S on my keyboard, and that'll update that copy that I've got saved to my Google file drive. And the advantage of saving to your Google file drive is anywhere you've got internet, you can take and update this thing. Right, so we're going to stop there for today. There will be a couple additional videos for you to practice with during your asynchronous time where we come in here. We're going to edit this a little bit more. And then next week, you'll either show me or submit a screenshot if you're not in class of what you've accomplished on here, so I can get it marked off in the grade book. So that's the very, very basics of Inventor. If you have any questions, I can answer them via email. You can talk to me during our synchronous time, but don't let yourself be lost. Ask questions so we can keep you moving along.